The air was thick with smoke and the scent of burning metal. Captain Bonner crouched behind a half-destroyed wall, his rifle clutched tightly in his hands. The city of Viridra, once humanity's proudest colony, was now a battlefield. Alien warships loomed in the sky, their dark silhouettes blocking out the sun. Explosions thundered in the distance as another district was wiped out by orbital bombardment. The ground trembled under his feet, and he knew they were running out of time. "Captain, we can't hold them much longer," Sergeant Vasquez called out, his voice barely audible over the deafening sounds of war. His face was streaked with dirt and sweat, his armor scorched from near misses. Around them, the remaining soldiers of the 12th Battalion huddled together, their eyes filled with exhaustion and fear. They were down to their last reserves of ammunition. Bonner pressed his back against the crumbling wall, breathing heavily. He glanced up, watching the enemy forces advance through the ruins. The Xilari, a ruthless alien race, moved with precision. Their towering insect-like bodies glowed faintly in the dim light, their mechanical limbs clanking against the rubble-strewn ground. Their red eyes scanned the battlefield, searching for any signs of resistance. Bonner clenched his jaw. "We hold the line," he said, his voice firm despite the hopelessness of their situation. "We don't let them take this city. If we go down, we make sure they pay for every inch of ground they take." A soldier beside him, Private Keegan, let out a nervous laugh. "Captain, with all due respect, we're dead men." Bonner looked at him, his expression unreadable. "Not yet." The next moment, the sky roared with fire. A massive explosion erupted just ahead, sending Xilari troops flying. The ground shook violently, and for a second, Bonner thought the aliens had launched another airstrike. But then he saw it, dark figures moving through the dust and fire, striking the enemy with lethal precision. At first, Bonner thought reinforcements had finally arrived. But something was off. These weren't Earth's soldiers. Their armor was sleek, unlike anything the Terran military used. Their weapons emitted silent pulses of energy, cutting through Xilari defenses effortlessly. Their movements were too precise, too coordinated, almost as if they could predict the enemy's actions before they even happened. One of the unknown soldiers appeared beside Bonner, taking down a Xilari drone with a single, well-placed shot. Their helmeted face turned towards him, and for a moment, Bonner felt an eerie sense of familiarity. "Who the hell are you?" he demanded, raising his weapon. The figure didn't answer. Instead, they activated a cloaking device and vanished before his eyes. Bonner's blood ran cold. "Sir," Vasquez muttered, his voice filled with disbelief. "They're human." Bonner wasn't sure what was more terrifying, the Xilari, or the realization that humanity wasn't as alone in the universe as they had believed. The air buzzed with tension as Bonner crouched behind a collapsed building, his heart pounding in his chest. Smoke drifted through the shattered streets, carrying the acrid stench of burnt metal and scorched earth. The distant rumble of alien war machines echoed through the city, shaking the ground beneath his boots. The Xilari were regrouping, their insect-like forms moving with ruthless efficiency through the rubble-strewn battlefield. Bonner wiped sweat from his brow, gripping his rifle tightly as he scanned the chaos. The unknown soldiers had vanished just as quickly as they had appeared, leaving only the charred remains of Xilari forces in their wake. "Captain, more hostiles inbound," Sergeant Vasquez shouted from behind a twisted steel beam. Bonner cursed under his breath, eyes narrowing as he spotted the approaching enemy. Drones buzzed above the streets, scanning for survivors with cold, mechanical precision. The Xilari ground troops followed closely, their armored limbs clanking against the cracked pavement. Red eyes glowed in the darkness, each step bringing them closer to the humans' last line of defense. "Hold the line," Bonner barked, raising his rifle. Energy blasts illuminated the night as his squad opened fire, cutting down the first wave of alien soldiers. Sparks flew as bullets ricocheted off Xilari armor, but some found their mark, sending the creatures crashing to the ground. A high-pitched screech pierced the air as a massive HFY war beast emerged from the smoke. Towering over the battlefield, its segmented body bristled with plasma cannons and jagged blades. Its eyes locked onto Bonner, and with a mechanical roar, it charged forward, tearing through debris with terrifying speed. "Fall back," Bonner shouted, dragging Keegan to his feet as the beast closed the distance. Before they could retreat, a pulse of energy struck the war beast, halting it mid-charge. It convulsed violently, sparks arcing across its armored frame before collapsing in a smoking heap. Bonner spun around, eyes wide as the mysterious soldiers reappeared. Their cloaking devices shimmered as they stepped forward, sleek armor reflecting the fires burning around them. Energy rifles hummed with deadly power, cutting through the HFY ranks with surgical precision. "Who are you?" Bonner shouted over the chaos, but the soldiers ignored him, pressing the attack with cold efficiency. Vasquez scrambled to Bonner's side, breathless and wide-eyed. "Sir, they're wiping out the HFY like it's nothing. Look at their tech. It's way beyond anything we've got." Bonner clenched his jaw as he watched the battle unfold. The unknown soldiers moved like ghosts, phasing in and out of sight with their cloaking devices. Their weapons sliced through alien armor with ease, and their advanced exosuits granted them strength and speed far beyond human limits. The HFY, caught off guard by the sudden assault, fell back under the relentless onslaught. The largest of the unknown warriors charged through the enemy lines, wielding twin plasma blades that cut through HFY limbs with brutal efficiency. The air crackled with energy as the warrior clashed with the alien commanders, their blades sparking against insectoid armor. Bonner watched in awe as the warrior spun and struck with blinding speed, each movement precise and unstoppable. "Push forward," Bonner shouted, rallying his squad to take advantage of the chaos. They advanced through the rubble, gunning down any HFY that managed to evade the unknown soldiers. Bonner's heart pounded in his chest, adrenaline fueling his every step as they fought their way toward the heart of the battlefield. The HFY's resistance began to crumble under the combined assault. Their war machines toppled one by one, and their drones fell from the sky in smoking heaps. Desperation flickered in their crimson eyes as they realized their advantage was slipping away. Suddenly, a piercing shriek echoed through the air as the HFY warlord emerged from the ruins. Towering above its soldiers, its armored exoskeleton gleamed with reinforced plating, and energy blades extended from its forearms. Its eyes locked onto the unknown warriors, and with a guttural roar, it charged forward, smashing through debris with terrifying force. The largest of the unknown warriors stepped forward to meet the warlord head-on. Their plasma blades clashed in a blinding burst of light, sending shockwaves rippling through the battlefield. Sparks flew as metal struck metal, each strike faster and more brutal than the last. The ground trembled beneath their feet as they exchanged blows, neither side giving an inch. Bonner could only watch as the titanic duel unfolded before him. The unknown warrior moved with inhuman speed and precision, but the HFY warlord's brute strength was undeniable. They clashed again and again, their strikes creating bursts of energy that lit up the battlefield like flashes of lightning. "Sir, we need to help them," Vasquez shouted. Bonner nodded and signaled his squad to open fire, their bullets striking the warlord's exposed joints and sensors. The creature roared in rage, its movements becoming more erratic as it tried to fend off attacks from all sides. Seizing the opportunity, the unknown warrior surged forward, plasma blades slicing through the warlord's armor in a blinding arc. The alien let out a final blood-curdling shriek as its body collapsed in a heap of molten metal and shattered limbs. Silence fell over the battlefield as the last of the HFY forces scattered into the shadows, their morale broken. Bonner lowered his rifle, chest heaving as he took in the destruction around him. Fires still burned in the distance, casting flickering shadows across the ruins of Viridra. The unknown warriors stood motionless, their armor reflecting the flames. Bonner stepped forward, determination etched on his face. "Who are you?" he demanded again, his voice firm. The largest warrior turned toward him, visor glowing with an eerie blue light. For a moment, Bonner thought he saw a flicker of recognition behind that mask, as if the warrior knew him. But before he could speak, the warriors activated their cloaking devices and vanished into the night. Bonner stood frozen, heart pounding in his chest. Questions swirled in his mind, but no answers came. Whoever they were, one thing was certain: humanity was no longer alone in this fight. The air inside the ruined city was thick with smoke and the distant hum of alien machinery. Bonner crouched behind the remnants of a shattered wall, his pulse pounding in his ears. Dust clung to his sweat-soaked skin, and his uniform was torn from the intense skirmish earlier that day. Every breath tasted like ash. His comm crackled with static. "Bonner, come in. Status: alive. For now," he muttered. His eyes scanned the streets, watching for the ominous glint of enemy drones. The enemy, machines built for domination, moved with precision. Their sleek metal bodies reflected the firelight from the burning city, and their red eyes glowed with cold intent. Bonner gritted his teeth, gripping his plasma rifle tightly. Humanity had learned to fight back, but these machines adapted too fast. Suddenly, a faint shimmer rippled across the air ahead. Bonner's eyes narrowed. Cloaking device. He fired instinctively. The blue energy bolt struck, and the air distorted as an alien hunter decloaked, its armored form collapsing to the ground with a metallic thud. "Bonner, hold your position. We're moving to your location." Sergeant Raya's voice cut through the static. Bonner exhaled in relief, but his moment of respite vanished as a deafening roar echoed from above. He looked up to see the ominous silhouette of an orbital bombardment drone, its cannons glowing with the promise of destruction. "Move, Bonner," Raya shouted. Bonner sprinted from his cover just as the drone unleashed a volley of plasma fire. The street behind him exploded, sending debris and fire into the air. Heat scorched his back as he dived into the wreckage of a collapsed building. Through the chaos, Bonner's eyes caught movement, a figure moving with speed and precision, but not like the machines. This figure carried a weapon unlike anything Bonner had seen. Before Bonner could react, the figure disabled the drone with a single precise shot. The machine plummeted to the ground, flames bursting from its core. Bonner froze. Who was that? The figure turned, revealing a human face beneath a battle-scarred helmet. Their eyes met for a brief moment before the stranger vanished into the smoke. "Bonner, status," Raya demanded again. "I'm fine," Bonner replied, his mind racing. Another human. Out here. The squad regrouped moments later. Raya clapped Bonner on the shoulder. "Good work holding out. Let's move before the next wave hits." Bonner nodded, but his thoughts lingered on the mysterious human who'd appeared from nowhere. There was more to this war than he'd realized, and he intended to find out the truth. The night pressed down like a heavy blanket, suffocating the city in shadows broken only by scattered fires and distant flashes of plasma fire. Bonner moved with cautious steps, his boots crunching over broken glass and debris. His squad followed close behind, their presence a faint reassurance against the ever-present threat of enemy drones and patrols. Yet his mind was consumed by the figure he'd seen, the human who had taken down the orbital drone with impossible precision. "Eyes up. We're approaching Sector 9, Raya whispered. Her voice carried the tension they all felt. Sector 9 was contested ground, where resistance fighters clashed with the machine's ground forces in brutal, close-quarters combat. Bonner scanned the street ahead with night vision optics. Ruined buildings loomed on either side, their skeletal frames casting jagged shadows. A faint hum echoed through the air, the sound of cloaked enemy scouts. "Contact," Bonner whispered. 2 hunters, cloaked. The squad took cover behind the rubble. Bonner gripped his rifle tightly, heart pounding as he scanned for the telltale distortions of cloaking fields. The first hunter appeared suddenly, its red eyes glowing as it lunged toward Raya's. Bonner fired, the plasma bolt striking its shoulder and staggering it. Rice finished the job with a burst from her rifle. The second hunter decloaked, raising its arm-mounted cannon. Before Bonner could react, a blue energy blast struck the machine's core, sending it crashing to the ground in a shower of sparks. Bonner spun around, heart hammering. There, half hidden in the shadows, stood the stranger. Their armor, sleek and advanced, bore no insignia. Their weapon, a compact railgun of unknown design, hummed softly in their hands. "Who are you?" Bonner called out. The figure tilted their head slightly, as if considering whether to respond. Then, without a word, they turned and vanished into the smoke. "Bonner, move!" Rice shouted. The squad pressed forward, the encounter leaving Bonner more determined than ever to uncover the truth. They reached Sector 9's perimeter, where the shattered remains of human and machine soldiers alike marked the front lines of the brutal conflict. Automated gun turrets scanned the rubble, firing at any movement. Bonner signaled the squad to halt as he assessed the situation. Suddenly, the comms crackled. "Unknown human forces detected in Sector 9. The command channel reported. Proceed with caution." Bonner's pulse quickened. Unknown human forces. Could it be the Strangers group? Before he could dwell on the thought, plasma fire erupted ahead. The machines had spotted them. "Go! Go!" Rice ordered. The squad surged forward, weapons blazing. Bonner took down a scout drone with a precise shot, then ducked behind cover as enemy fire scorched the air above him. The air was thick with the sound of combat, plasma bolts sizzling, metal scraping against concrete, and the guttural roars of machine warforms. Bonner's rifle overheated, forcing him to take cover and let it cool. As he crouched behind a fallen column, a massive warform approached, 8 feet tall, armored in black plating with crimson eyes that burned with malice. Bonner raised his rifle, knowing he wouldn't have time to stop it. Then, a streak of blue energy lanced through the warform's core. The machine staggered, smoke billowing from its chest as it collapsed. The stranger emerged from the smoke, their weapons still glowing. "Why are you helping us?" Bonner demanded. The figure stepped closer, their helmet retracting to reveal a woman's face, scared but determined, with piercing green eyes. "Because your fight is our fight," she said. "We've been watching, waiting for the right moment to reveal ourselves. Humanity isn't alone in this war." Bonner's mind raced with questions, but there was no time. The machines were regrouping. "Come with us," he urged. The woman hesitated, then nodded. Together, they charged into the heart of Sector 9, ready to change the course of the battle, and perhaps the fate of humanity itself. Smoke hung thick in the air as Bonner and the stranger advanced through the ruins of Sector 9, plasma fire lighting up the night in rapid bursts. The woman moved with precise efficiency, her railgun taking down enemy drones with swift, deadly accuracy. Bonner's squad followed close behind, weaving through debris-strewn streets as the hum of cloaked hunters echoed nearby. "Watch the left flank," Rice shouted as a warform charged from the shadows. Bonner swung his rifle up, firing a burst that barely slowed the machine's advance. Before it could reach him, a blue energy bolt from the stranger's railgun shattered its core, sending sparks flying. "Thanks," Bonner gasped, ducking behind cover. "Don't fall behind," the woman replied curtly, scanning the battlefield with sharp eyes. "More are coming." Bonner's mind raced with questions, but the enemy pressed too close for conversation. Cloaked scouts darted through the smoke, their faint distortions barely visible. Bonner fired instinctively, catching one mid-leap. Rice and the others kept pace, moving with synchronized efficiency, honed by months of brutal combat. Explosions rumbled in the distance as orbital bombardments targeted deeper into the city. The ground trembled beneath their feet, cracks spiderwebbing across the shattered pavement. Bonner felt the heat of a plasma blast steer past his shoulder, too close for comfort. "Sector Command, this is Bonner. We've encountered unknown human allies engaging the machines. Request updated orders." Bonner called into his comm. Static crackled in response, the interference growing worse as they moved deeper into contested territory. Comms are compromised, Rise warned. We're on our own for now. Bonner grit his teeth. They couldn't afford to slow down. The enemy would close in if they hesitated. This way, the stranger urged, leading them through a collapsed building's skeletal remains. Inside, the air was thick with dust, dim shafts of moonlight filtering through broken walls. The squad moved cautiously, boots crunching over shattered glass and debris. Bonner caught up with the woman. "Who are you? How do you have that tech?" "We're survivors of the first wave," she replied without looking back. "We learned to adapt, to fight smarter. Now, we're here to help you finish what we started." "Why now?" Bonner pressed. "Because the machines are evolving. If we don't act now, there won't be another chance." Before Bonner could respond, a deep mechanical growl echoed through the building. Red eyes glowed in the darkness as a massive warform stepped through the rubble, its armored frame bristling with weapons. The squad scrambled for cover as plasma blasts rained down, shattering concrete and igniting debris. "Flank it," Bonner shouted. Rice and another soldier circled to the left while Bonner and the stranger moved right. The warform's heavy steps shook the ground as it advanced, its cannons charging with lethal energy. Bonner fired, aiming for the exposed joints between its armor plates. Sparks flew as his shots connected, but the warform barely slowed. Rise opened fire from the opposite side, drawing its attention. The stranger knelt, her railgun charging with a high-pitched whine. Bonner laid down suppressive fire, buying her the precious seconds needed to aim. "Now," she shouted. Bonner dove aside as the railgun fired. The blue energy blast punched through the warform's core, detonating its power source in a blinding explosion. The shockwave knocked them all to the ground as flaming debris rained down. Bonner pushed himself up, ears ringing. The warform lay in a smoking heap, its red eyes dimmed forever. "Everyone's still breathing," he called. "Barely," Rise replied, coughing from the dust. The stranger stood, brushing ash from her armor. "We need to keep moving. The machines will converge here soon." Bonner nodded, leading the squad back into the night. Their mission wasn't over yet, and neither was the mystery of their unexpected ally. Bonner's breath came in ragged gasps as he sprinted through the rubble-strewn streets, the distant hum of hunter drones closing in fast. Plasma blasts scorched the air around him, illuminating the night with brief flashes of searing light. Behind him, Reyes and the others kept pace, their weapons clutched tightly as they moved with urgent precision. The stranger led the way, her railgun held ready as she scanned the shadows ahead. "Almost there," she called back. "We need to reach the extraction point before they cut us off." Bonner glanced skyward, catching glimpses of enemy dropships weaving between the towering remnants of the city's skyline. The air trembled with the distant booms of orbital strikes, each explosion a reminder of the stakes they faced. A sudden burst of static crackled through Bonner's comm. Sector command to Bonner. "Do you copy?" "Copy," he replied, hope surging through him. "We're en route to the extraction point. ETA 5 minutes. We've got unknown human allies with advanced tech assisting us." "Understood. Reinforcements inbound. Hold your position if compromised. Good luck." The line went dead, but it was enough. Bonner gritted his teeth and pushed forward, feet pounding against shattered pavement. A mechanical screech split the air as hunter drones swooped down from the rooftops, their sleek forms cloaked in shimmering fields of light. Bonner dropped to one knee, firing controlled bursts into their ranks. Rise and the others followed suit, plasma bolts streaking through the air as the drones scattered. "Keep moving," the stranger shouted. Her railgun fired with a sharp crack, taking down a drone mid-dive. Bonner sprinted to her side, firing at another drone that veered too close. The extraction point came into view, a collapsed overpass beneath which a military shuttle waited, its engines thrumming with anticipation. Soldiers in battle-scarred armor stood guard, their weapons aimed at the surrounding ruins. "Go, go," Bonner urged as they dashed toward the shuttle. A thunderous roar erupted behind them as a towering warform crashed through the rubble, its crimson optics locking onto the fleeing humans. Plasma cannons spun to life as it unleashed a barrage of fire, scorching the ground in their wake. "Take cover," Bonner shouted. The squad scattered, diving behind chunks of concrete as the air filled with heat and debris. The stranger rolled to her feet, eyes blazing with determination. Charging her railgun, she stepped into the open, aiming directly at the warform's exposed core. "Now or never," she called. Bonner rose beside her, firing his rifle in quick bursts to distract the machine. The warform pivoted, cannon swiveling toward him. Time seemed to slow as its weapons charged with lethal energy. The railgun fired, its blue bolt slicing through the air and punching into the warform's core. Sparks exploded from within as the machine convulsed, its systems failing in rapid succession. With a final mechanical wail, it collapsed into a heap of twisted metal. "Move," Bonner shouted, seizing the stranger's arm and pulling her toward the shuttle. The squad clambered aboard, the rear hatch sealing shut as the engines roared to full power. Bonner collapsed into a seat, chest heaving as adrenaline coursed through his veins. The stranger stood near the hatch, eyes scanning the city beyond as the shuttle lifted off. Bonner pushed himself upright and approached her. "You saved us back there," he said. "Who are you, really?" She turned, her gaze steady. "We're what's left of humanity's first resistance. When the machines first invaded, we adapted, evolved. But we couldn't win alone. Now we fight alongside those who refuse to surrender." Bonner nodded slowly, understanding the weight of her words. "Then let's finish this fight. Together." As the shuttle soared into the night, the distant fires of battle fading beneath them, Bonner knew one thing for certain. Humanity would stand unbroken, no matter the odds.